Okay, we're back with Erik Fine from Patriot Law Firm. If you're facing criminal charges in Alabama, or you just want to know more about what your rights are, either for yourself or someone you know, you are in the right place. Erik is a military veteran, former law enforcement officer, and a relentless defender of constitutional rights,
That's
which
right.
you may have picked up on from the name of the law firm, Patriot Law.
Exactly.
Aptly named. So we are diving into the topic of drug charges in Alabama from misdemeanors to felonies. So we just want to kind of break down drug-related charges and how an experienced defense lawyer can change the outcome.
Gotcha. Okay.
So let's start with how does the state of Alabama differentiate between a misdemeanor and a felony drug charge?
Okay. Great case, or great question, rather. So misdemeanors in Alabama are less serious crimes. Crimes nonetheless, but they are deemed to be less serious. So the maximum that you can get on a misdemeanor is 1 year in jail. Okay. Be it a city jail or a county jail.
Right.
Because I want to differentiate between jail and prison.
Which I've heard are two different things, but I don't really know the difference.
And we'll go over that because
Okay.
it's like comparing apples and Oldsmobiles.
Oh.
Okay? so that's how that
Okay.
part goes. A felony is a more serious crime.
Okay.
So society, through its laws, has determined that there are some crimes that if you are charged or accused of are less serious than others. Now that makes total sense.
Yeah.
You don't want to punish inappropriately. So misdemeanors, for example, when we're talking about drugs, it could be unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia. What would that be? A bong for smoking marijuana, scales for measuring marijuana, anything, any accoutrement, any tangible something that's used with drugs.
Just the drug adjacent things, not the actual drugs. Okay.
Right. A felony, here's a trick question. What's the difference between a felony and misdemeanor? 1 day. Because the minimum felony is a year and a day in prison.
The minimum.
Prison.
Oh, okay.
That opens the door to the big house. Okay? Jail, prison. So there is a difference, all right? So in Alabama, when we talk about drug offenses, all right, misdemeanor drug offenses in Alabama would include unlawful possession of marijuana, personal use.
Okay.
All right? That's called UPalm 2, unlawful possession of marijuana, second degree.
Okay.
Then you have things also, like I said, unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia. A lot of the times, and what you see is if someone has marijuana and they have the baggie that it's in, the baggie could be considered paraphernalia.
Okay.
So we see a lot of that, okay?
Yeah.
That means that the max you could get is 1 year in city jail and or county jail.
Okay.
Now, when we talk felony, all right, what we're talking about is either type of drug or amount of drug.
Okay.
All right? The only difference has to do with marijuana, and I'm going to go back to that in the end, and it'll blow your mind. All right? When you think of hardcore drugs, cocaine, crack, okay, same thing, heroin, fentanyl, we're seeing big time.
Okay.
Prescription medications, oxycodone, Lortab, Lorcet, the whole kind of thing. Possession of that is unlawful possession of a controlled substance. That is a substance that, let's say, a doctor would have to write you a prescription for, even Adderall. If you have Adderall and you don't have a prescription of Adderall, that is a felony possession. That's a D felony.
That's a felony possession.
That's a felony.
Wow.
1 Xanax.
Wow.
D felony. Okay? D felony is a year and a day up to 5 years in prison. Now, that does not mean that you're going to go to prison.
Right.
Okay? It means you could go to prison based, of course, on your criminal history, if we start to talk about the Alabama Habitual Offender Act and things of that sort. Most of the time, it entails probation, okay, for first offenders. However, when we start to talk about volume of drugs, then we get into certain offenses in Alabama like unlawful possession with intent to distribute.
Yeah, okay.
Or distribution of a controlled substance. And then the big one, drug trafficking. Now, I know when you hear drug trafficking, you're thinking about the cartel and you're thinking about airplanes
it's like
full of
hidden
stuff.
inside of boxes with teddy bears. Or
Exactly.
crazy
No,
like that.
you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. But you're wrong. Because in Alabama, based on what kind of drug it is, it has to do with the weight. 8 to 28 grams. You know, if it's over 28 grams, it's trafficking.
Oh, so
Trafficking.
it's a quantity thing.
Oh, it's a quantity thing. But here, get this. Trafficking, a Class A felony in Alabama, carries the same punishment as murder.
Whoa.
10 to 99 years in prison
goodness.
to life. Serious, serious stuff.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about the Alabama Department of Forensic Science, they're going to measure it. There's all kinds of ways to defend this, okay? It goes back to how was this evidence acquired? Was it a violation of the Fourth Amendment?
Right.
Was it, how was it seized? How did they come upon it?
Yeah.
This is what lawyers are for, you know?
Yes. Well, and you especially with your background in law enforcement,
Exactly.
I expect you have context that a lot of people just don't.
Tons.
Yeah.
Really. And that's really what makes this what I do to be such a natural fit for me based on what my background is. Now, this will blow your mind too, okay? So let's say somebody got an unlawful possession of marijuana second degree, a misdemeanor, and they were convicted or pled guilty to it and they got probation, okay? Slap on the wrist and that's it. Then a couple years later, they get caught again with a roach. Okay?
Yeah.
Or a seed of marijuana. Now it's a felony.
Okay, so it stacks.
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is.
Yeah.
All right? Fentanyl. We're seeing a huge influx. Right now, I would say the big drug is methamphetamines.
Okay.
And, meth can come in various forms where people inject it into their veins. I can't believe, but the syringe would be the paraphernalia.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Now, let's say that they found a syringe and it had a little bit of liquid in it that turned out to be meth. That's enough to get you the unlawful possession of a controlled substance, felony, and the needle, syringe, is the misdemeanor. These things get out of hand quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
And, now there's also drug dogs that do, everybody goes, oh, they searched the car with the dog. Well, not according to the U.S. Supreme Court. That's called a free air sniff when they can walk the dog around the car. But there's limitations to that. There's limitations to everything. All right. The law has limits. You need me to find out what those limits are to make sure, because you may think you're stone cold X busted on something, but let me do my due diligence and see what can happen.
Well, okay, and we've talked about kind of the factors that determine how severe the penalty is going to be. So talk a little bit more about why you're the difference, obviously. Someone like you, in this case, we're focusing on you and your law firm. Why are you so critical to this whole process?
Me personally?
Just as a lawyer? As
a lawyer. Well, the thing is when you look at a toxicology screen, let's say it's a felony. Let's say that, the stakes are much, much higher now with a felony, especially on somebody that, let's say, has a checkered criminal history that perhaps now they are seriously facing what we call heading south, which means going down to the penitentiary, to prison. There are various things that I look at, for example, like the toxicology screen and what their weight, what their plus minus value is, margin of error. And again, when we're talking about how was this evidence seized, it's important because if that evidence was seized improperly or illegally, I can have it excluded. And then all of a sudden your drug case goes away.
Right.
Because they have nothing.
But this is a question they might never ask unless they're consulting with you.
They wouldn't. That's right.
They wouldn't know.
And the thing is, the law is not stagnant. It's dynamic. It changes all the time. So a lot of people get on Google and they go, they'll type something in, and Google's not a lawyer. Don't let your Google search confuse.
ChatGPT, not a lawyer.
That's not a lawyer. And don't let that confuse, your Google search.
Right.
I got a coffee mug. Don't let your Google search, be mistaken for my law degree. The reality is there are things that I can do to look at it with things you've never heard of.
Yeah.
And approaches that you've never dreamt of.
So can you think of an example in your career where you've been able to do this for someone and gotten their sentence reduced or their charges dismissed?
Well, sure. It happens quite often. I'll give you an example where I was in a county case where it was a unlawful possession with intent to distribute.
Okay.
And while going through all the toxicology, the traffic stop looked good, as far as like, okay, that was legal, it was constitutional, everything was in line. But, we're dealing with weight amounts, okay? And the way that the Alabama Criminal Code does is it has to do with what kind of drug, and then they give the weight, what weight it should be. It was plus or minus just a little bit, and I couldn't get it to that low threshold to where it would only be possession of a controlled substance and not, going from a D felony to a C felony, which is a year and a day, to 10 years.
Yeah.
Come to find out, Department of Forensic Science put the baggie in when they weighed it, and the baggie made the difference. And it made the difference of somebody going to prison versus probation.
Oh, that's a big deal.
It matters.
It matters.
So you really, when my car breaks down, I don't take it to my dry cleaner.
No.
Okay?
No.
So if you have a legal problem, you got to call me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's an example as to where that made the difference in someone's life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think are some things, how do drug laws in Alabama kind of catch people by surprise? Like, are there things that surprise them that maybe they believe a myth and then this turns out to be true?
Well, another great question. I think the two, and we kind of touched on it prior, was, if you have a previous misdemeanor conviction of marijuana second degree, you get a slap on the wrist, get probation, and then life goes on. The next time that you're caught with something, that's a felony. The other thing that catches somebody off guard, Ann, is the trafficking. They have a certain amount, and they go, that's trafficking, and now you're looking at the same, if convicted, as if you had murdered somebody.
Right.
And that is absolutely freaking ridiculous,
Yeah.
but that is the way that the law is. But the biggest thing I see is something called constructed possession. Now, I'm going to explain this.
Please.
So basic, and it's going to make all the sense in the world.
Okay.
Let's assume, for just conversation's sake, that this cup of coffee is illegal, okay? So this cup of coffee is illegal, and the police rush in. Now, who's in possession of this? Well, it would appear that I am, right? Just like if I had something in my pockets when the police came in, that I am in possession.
Right.
So imagine this scenario. Now who's in possession? Well, the answer according to the law is both of us.
Oh.
Now, I might have walked in with this cup of coffee and it'd be solely mine. But now you're in trouble too. It's called constructed possession. All right? Now, what does that mean in real world terms? Imagine being in a car and the driver, who by law is deemed to be responsible for all the items in the car. So if you had somebody that came into your car that you're giving a ride to, a friend of yours, a coworker, whomever, all right, and they had drugs on them in their pocket, you get stopped, next thing you know, they find drugs in that person's pocket. Okay, that's not necessarily your problem.
Okay.
But what happens when they take those drugs out and they put it under the seat? You're going down.
Oh, no.
Constructed possession. It's a scary thing.
That's terrifying.
People do not understand what constructed possession is, and I would say that I see that an inordinately high number of times where they're going, I had no idea. I was giving this person a ride. I would, whatever. And the next thing you know, they've got a dog doing a free air sniff and they find drugs. Everybody in the car goes. to jail.
So then what do those people do? What is their next step?
The only step. First of all, you shut up and lawyer up.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, look, that's not mine. If it wasn't yours, say it wasn't yours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You don't have to dime anybody out. It's not mine.
Yep.
You're probably going to jail.
Okay.
Go to jail, get out, call me. Because this is why when I get that evidence and I speak to you and I go over this, I can make the fight that, look, that was not yours and you are not responsible for that. Can you imagine if you were an Uber driver?
No.
You see, that's the kind of, it's ludicrous, but this is real world,
Yeah.
and this is what I see every day.
Yeah.
Things like this when it comes to constructive possession. It is the biggest. More people have gone to jail and got felony convictions because if they thought they could fight it on their own or they hired the wrong lawyer, next thing you know, they've just caught a felony charge, which now means they lose their right to possess and own a firearm, and they cannot vote.
Because they were in the wrong place, wrong time, with the wrong person.
Absolutely.
Gosh, that's scary.
Scary.
Well, thank you so much for telling us all about this. This was fantastic. Thank you for watching. If you're a part of our audience, if you are facing charges in Alabama or you know someone who is, make sure you reach out to Erik at Patriot Law Firm. He has so much experience that's going to come in so helpful, and he is committed to protecting your rights. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ann, for having me. Thank you.